Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I want to take a little bit of time today to discuss recessions and where they come from and what's going on. Is the economy in a recession right now? And the answer to that question is maybe. Now, you see, traditionally, a recession has been defined as 2 quarters of economic decline. However, when you look at the data on when recessions were actually happening, we're not going quarter by quarter, we're going month by month. The recession started in February and it ended in May, right? Or the recession started in, I don't know, October and it ended in, September of the next year. It goes month by month, right? That's the important thing. What I want to tell you is that we don't actually use the GDP data that comes out every quarter to determine when recessions start and when they end. That sort of the idea of using quarter by quarter data to determine whether or not we're in a recession is kind of misleading, right? The definition that's usually given is kind of wrong. It is true that what we're talking about is a 6-month period of decline, right? You have to have that is a prerequisite for a recession, right? But we go back and we say this is the official start of the recession, this is the official end, and that's done by the National Bureau of Economic Research. They get to decide when the recession begins and when it ends, and they look at a whole bunch of other stuff, right? And it could be that we are actually not in a recession, even though we've had 2 quarters of GDP decline at this point. That satisfies the definition of a recession that's usually bandied about. But that's not necessarily the recession that we get. The recession happens before, after, a lot of that sort of stuff. Now, let me tell you what's going on right now. We've had 2 quarters where GDP has fallen, but that isn't because of activity declining in the economy per se. We've had buildups of inventory, right? And part of that is part of that buildup is the inflation that we're seeing. People are pulling back on their spending a little bit. We're also getting a lot of companies having supply chain issues, so they're building inventory so that they don't have those supply chain issues anymore. Could that be a recession? Yeah, it's not a great sign. It's a sign of weakness in the economy. It's not really a great sign, but it doesn't scream recession yet. And with unemployment really low, with wage growth kind of going a little bit slower than we think that it should be in a highly inflationary market such as we have right now, that makes me think that the inflation that we're seeing right now we've got a lot of, we've had 40 years of being at a very low inflation rate. That's bought a lot of credibility. Some of that credibility has been eroded. Uh, don't take that lightly, but there's been a lot of credibility that the Federal Reserve knows what they're doing, built up over the last 40 years. Again, some of that's been eroded away in the past couple of years, but we're starting to get there. And I think that what we're going to see is we're going to see a massive drop in the inflation rate, um, with the next numbers, because gas has gone down, a bunch of other stuff, right? And I think that's going to help boost the credibility a little bit here. Um, the thing is that with the inventories building up, that's going to weigh on GDP. And I don't necessarily think that we're quite there yet. Unemployment's still low, productivity is still high, um, wages are going up. It just seems to me that the inflation, the all of the recession, all of that stuff, it's just not to the point of actually calling this a recession quite yet, um, because we're going to look retroactively, right? And I think that a recession probably will be called, um, but it's going to happen retroactively, and it's going to happen uh, a lot further in the. It's going to happen a lot further into the future than we'd like, right? People are going to say, "Oh, we're in a recession," and let's be honest, I kind of think that we are a little bit in a recession. Um, I have seen some economic activity pull back. Uh, I I remember, on the 4th of July, I went to a celebration, um, with my family, watched fireworks, all that sort of stuff. We do that every year. We go to the same one every single year, right? Um, it's held at a park in our local city, whatever, right? The city gets a whole bunch of food trucks to come to this event. Um, Selection was down, right? That's kind of a weird indicator, but the number of food trucks that were participating was down. The number of vendor booths at this fair uh, was down, right? There just wasn't as many people interested in selling things this year, even compared to last year, right? So post pandemic, um, it was just a smaller event this year. Uh, Mainly probably because uh, we are in a recession. It just is what it is, um, which is fine. Um, I think that we're in a very shallow recession at the moment, and the question is it going to deepen? Here's the thing. Again, I don't know when it's going to be called a recession. I don't even know if it's going to deepen very much. I think there are signs that are going to give hope. Um, I think that like I said, gas prices are coming down finally. Um, that's going to be a very very good sign uh, for the inflation numbers. I think that's going to pick up a lot of activity. People are going to start feeling better. The stock market's going to go up. There's a whole lot of things going on that make me think that we're pretty much through it. Um, I think that when the recession is called, um, again, it's going to be retroactive, and we're going to look back and go, that wasn't much of a recession at all, um, because it'll probably be over by the time the recession is called. That's my personal thoughts on the subject. I do, like I said, I have seen some signs the food truck indicator, like I said. Um, I think there are some signs out there that point to we are in a recession. Um, but again, I just don't think it's a very deep or meaningful recession. So take that for what it's worth. And and let me just say that regardless of if it's a recession or not, if you're young, like me, um, relatively young, you should be buying assets. That's it, right? Control assets. That's all that you need to be doing. That's all that you need to be thinking about. It's all that you really want is expose yourself to asset classes and hold on to them. That's it, right? Your job is to buy productive capacity. You want to be the owner of productive capacity, regardless of whether the economy is booming or whether or not the economy is floundering. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're not paying too much for that productive capacity. So even though this entire video has been about recessions, the thing that I want to point out is that it doesn't matter. If there's a recession or not, I think it's going to be a very shallow one, if there is one. And I think that the thing that you're going to see is that regardless, keep buying, right? And buy at good prices. If the stock market's crashing, that's a great time to buy. I do still think that the stock market is fairly overvalued today. But that's not up to me to determine. That's up to the rest of the market to determine. So, as always, until next time, stay rational.